Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Brain Show. I'm your host Lucas, and today we've got Howard, an independent financial advisor. And of course, as always, we have the brain.
Hello Howard, hello Lucas, hope you're both well today.
And on today's episode, we're talking all about student finance. So let's get started. Howard, one of the things you need to consider when becoming a student, going towards university, is you need to get a bank account. What is it you need to open a bank account?
Well, first of all, you've got to decide on which bank you're going to use. And the main reason for that is all the banks will offer student accounts and they'll all have various incentives. And you've got to decide which is more important to you as an incentive to go forward with. So, for example, not only do they offer student overdrafts, but they'll offer incentives such as student rail cards and things like that. So it's all those sort of things you need to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to see what they're possibly going to give away, gift vouchers or rail cards, Oyster cards, things like that. So when you're opening a bank account, you say there's loads of different types of bank accounts that offer different things. Where's the best place to look at all these bank accounts?
The old-fashioned way would be to walk up and down the high street and see what the bank's offering, but there's fewer and fewer banks in the high street now.
Yep.
So we've got online. One of the most useful that I find is the Martin Lewis Money Expert website.
Right.
He's got a specific section for student finance, which is really laid out and has all the offers that the banks are offering on there and links to the providers to do that.
Excellent. So it makes it really easy for you guys. What we'll do is I'll put that down in the description. We'll put a picture up there so you know what you're looking for. So I've decided what bank account I want to open. What do I actually need? Do I need any ID? Do I need anything like that?
You'll need some form of photo ID. So that can be your passport, it can be a driving licence. It can't be a provisional driving licence. It has to be a full driving licence. Your passport and some form of utility bill or something that ties you to that address, a letter from the tax office or something like that, something that can tie you to your home address.
Okay, so one of the things you mentioned there was overdrafts.
Yes.
So I'm a new student going towards university. What is an overdraft? Is there different types of overdrafts?
Overdrafts are all mainly the same thing. They're a loan.
Right.
So what the bank will do is say, okay, if you bank with us, we'll give you a facility or just extend the amount of money you've got in your bank account for a period of time.
Okay. Am I correct in thinking there's an arranged overdraft and an unarranged overdraft?
There are, exactly that. So part of the agreement when you open a bank account will be an overdraft limit, which is agreed with the bank. So that could be £1,000. Some of them it's £3,000. All depends on the bank. But that's the limit that you can go up to. That's like a maximum the bank that are saying it's okay that you can borrow.
So you're saying overdraft's a loan. Do you have to pay interest on the overdraft?
You do, yes. Again, with student overdrafts, a lot of that will be they'll agree that they'll lend you like £1,000 with no interest at all. But once you go over that £1,000, the interest charges will be added to the amount you owe.
So you've got your money, and then you've got zero, and then the overdraft is a little bit extra you can dip into below that line.
Yes.
So I've dipped into it £500. Do I have to pay that back?
Of course, yes. And that's one of the things. And what they will do is there'll be a term that you have to pay it back over. Now, it might be that whilst you're a student, you don't have to pay it back. But the minute you start working, they'll want some form of plan to pay it back.
I see. I believe there's two different types of student finance you can get from Student Finance England. So I've heard the names tuition fees and maintenance loan or living loan or something like that. What's the difference between them two?
So the tuition fees are literally the university costs, and they're for UK students, and on average about £9,000 a year. So you'll borrow that from the government. They'll give it to the university, and then when you start working, you'll start repaying that back. The maintenance loan is not means tested, but it is based on the amount of money that your parents earn, and that's to see you through university and help towards residential costs and food costs, and just the cost of being at university. Okay,
so you've got, I'd imagine, so you're taking these loans from the government. I wonder what sort of the average student debt is once you've finished university. Perhaps the Brain might be able to help us. So Brain, what is the average student debt in the UK?
Thinking. The average student debt in the UK can vary based on several factors, including whether the student attended university in England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, as well as the type and duration of their course. In England, where tuition fees are typically higher than in other parts of the UK, the average student debt upon graduation is often reported to be around £35,000 to £40,000, which includes both tuition fee loans and maintenance loans for living expenses.
Okay, so we mentioned tuition fees and you said sort of the average was about £9,000. Obviously, I'm presuming that £9,000 is for students that are from England going to an English university. So I wonder if there's any difference for international students. Again, maybe the Brain might be able to help us with. Brain, how much are international student fees?
Thinking. Tuition fees for international students are generally higher than those for UK or EU students and vary depending on the institution and the type of course. Undergraduate international tuition fees in the UK can range from around £10,000 to £30,000 or more per year.
Wow, no wonder the universities like to encourage international students. They can clearly charge quite a lot more. So I've taken this loan from the government. I've borrowed this certain amount of money. Presumably, as majority loans, do I have to pay it back? When do I start paying it back?
Yes, as soon as your income exceeds roughly £25,000 a year, you'll start to have to pay it back out of your earnings, and that'll be taken out of your salary before you actually receive any take-home pay. It's roughly 9% of your earnings, but it is banded on depending on how much you earn. So the more you earn, the more you will actually pay back.
Okay. Do you ever pay it back? Obviously, you could be borrowing. If you're borrowing £40,000 to £50,000, do you actually at 9%? Do you pay that back eventually? Or?
Yes, you will do, and it's all written off in 30 years' time.
Right.
So the maximum you'll be paying it back is for 30 years.
Okay. So one of the things you said when we're looking at student finance, you said it was means tested or tested against what your parents sort of earn. Do my parents have to pay anything towards it?
No, not at all. No, all it is the amount of money they'll release to you is just dependent on your family circumstances.
Right. Okay. As you're saying, if I've got this student loan, I've only got a small amount. Is there any additional support we could get, like grants or free money or anything like that?
Depending on your circumstances.
Right.
So if you fall under hardship or your parents fall under hardship whilst you're at university, might be some extra money available to you. But there are certain courses for certain jobs that will give you a bit of a maintenance grant that isn't actually a loan. So, for example, if you wanted to train to be a nurse or a doctor, there might be a bursary or something that's available to you to help support your studies.
Okay, so that's definitely a bursary and things like that. Definitely something to consider.
Oh, very
to
much
get that
so.
extra money.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, thinking just slightly past being at university, will a student loan affect my credit score at all?
Yes, it will do, because not so much whether you pay it back or not, because it's taken out of your salary before you get it. And if you haven't got a salary, then they can't force you to repay it. But when you come to get a mortgage, what it'll do is reduce your earnings by about 9%. So that'll affect your mortgage affordability. So it'll always be taken into account whenever you're looking to borrow any other money.
Right, so it is going to affect you, not just when you finish university, it's going to affect you for quite a while.
Yes.
Quite a while later on. So how much interest will I have to pay?
Right, it depends on when you started at university, but as new starters now, it's 7.8% per annum.
Wow.
So that gets added onto your loan every year for the facility of borrowing it.
Yeah, that's quite a large interest for. Certainly as a student, so early on in your life.
Which is why it's over 30 years in order to get it repaid.
So you said the tuition fees at the beginning. Do all courses, cost the same amount?
No, it'll all depend on what you're doing, and that's mainly because it'll depend on the complexity of the course.
Right.
So the more involved it is, then the dearer it'll be.
So I'd imagine a doctor's course, the tuition fees would be considerably more, I'd have thought.
Yeah, potentially,
something else. Budgeting is quite a large thing across your whole life. Obviously, as a student, the money's not going to be unlimited. There is going to be some budgeting needs to be done. So one of the first questions I've got, Brain, how much is the average student accommodation in the UK?
Thinking. The average cost of student accommodation in the UK can vary significantly depending on factors such as the location, type of accommodation, and amenities offered. Here are some general estimates. On-campus accommodation typically ranges from £4,000 to £8,000 per academic year. Purpose-built private student accommodation prices can range from £5,000 to £12,000 or more per academic year. Rent for a room in a shared house or flat can range from £400 to £800 or more per month. Renting a studio or one-bedroom apartment can be considerably more expensive, with prices ranging from £600 to £1,500 or more per month.
Wow, that's quite a cost there. Certainly if your maintenance loan is only, as you say, about £9,000, a lot of that is going to go towards your house. What other bills is there to consider when you're at university?
We've got to factor in that you're living away from home. Yeah. So all of a sudden you're responsible for your own food, your travel, your any beverages, for example, student life, etc., etc. So it's all of a sudden you going into the real world and being reliant on yourself.
Absolutely, there's
money you've got.
There's bills as well, isn't there? There's some, I know certain accommodation include utilities. Yeah. Some you have to pay council tax.
Well, what you'll find is usually what happens is on the first year you'll go into halls of residence. Yeah. And there'll be one payment. It'll be paid termly. With your maintenance grant, and that'll include all your bills. So it'll include electric, gas,
but presumably not food. Food you have to still supply yourself.
Yeah, not food, not mobile telephones, not internet contracts, all the rest of it. But the basics, the core that you need to live on. When in your second and third year, fourth year, you'll probably go off into private rented, and then you'll be responsible for more of the bills.
Yes, so sort of as you grow at university, you're responsible for more and more things.
Yes.
One of the other questions that we've got, obviously regarding to budgeting, it must be pretty difficult to save. Is there any tips you've got as regards to saving, or?
We don't come across many students that have ever saved any money, purely because of the cost of living, and you're there to live your life and enjoy yourselves. And I know from personal experience with my daughter, when the money she had saved up to go got spent in the first 2 weeks, and then we had to pick the pieces up afterwards.
You are there to enjoy yourself. I agree with that, obviously, but you do need to consider.
Well, you just have to be careful. You've got to realise that there are direct debits that are going to come out of your bank at the end of the month, and some of the maintenance loans are only paid quarterly. Right. So you've got to be prepared for that mix.
You can't exactly starve yourself for 2 months because you've used it all on drinks in the first.
Yes, and parents get fairly fed up if you keep them going back and asking for money.
I can imagine. Well, I think that concludes today's episode on student finance. Thank you very, very much, Howard, for joining me today. Thank you very much to the Brain, of course, for always helping.
Goodbye. Have a great day.